I have crossed the cold realm. He found himself traveling to 1,000 worlds at the same time, and he found that he could share his talents in each world. Marvel Cold Realm. I said my goal is to become a god beyond the multiverse. Ghost exterminates the cold realm. What's nothing, as long as he appears, I'll smash his dog head. Pirate Cold Realm. What kind of pirate king? I want to become the king of the world. Digital Cold Realm. Let you taste old sun's stick. Elf Cold Realm. I said, I just came out shopping with a few divine beasts. When countless cold realms gather together, he is the strongest among the heavens. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Absurd Encounters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The cold lake rippled open, leaving a thin layer of white frost on the quietly passing small boat. The cold mirror standing at the bow of the boat let out a faint breath of white air and rubbed his hands. Damn it, I didn't expect these people to have such strong racial discrimination, and they even overcharged me 10 yuan. At this moment, the man in charge of the boat said coldly, "Don't mutter, I'm not deaf, be careful, I'll throw you down." Cold Mirror shrugged his shoulders and stopped talking. In this unfamiliar place, proficient in the 6 languages, meticulous in thought, and with years of exercise in agile skills, he was of little use in front of a big man who was close to 2 meters tall and weighed around 300 pounds. Just 2 days ago, when Ling Jing woke up, he found himself in a strange place and immediately wanted to seek help. But to cross this wilderness and enter the main road leading to the city, one must cross this vast lake. Cold Mirror had no choice but to take out his limited money and board the boat among a group of people crossing the river, but the boatman actually tricked him. Cold Mirror had nothing extra to say, and he didn't communicate with the others on the ship. He just silently pondered in his heart where he had come from and what he needed to do next to ensure that he wouldn't just hiccup like this. Fortunately, there were no more accidents during the process, and an hour later the ship finally docked, and everyone was safely ashore. Cold Mirror felt that he was out of place with those people and did not intend to walk with them. Here, in the wilderness and mountains, he could not be saved. What happened to them later? Hello. Where are you going? Someone saw Ling Jing turn around and leave in another direction, and asked. After a moment of silence, Ling Jing pointed to a place with dense lights in the distance and said, "City." A person in the crowd said, "It's dozens of kilometers from here to the city. You walk on your legs and the people freeze to death before they even arrive. Why don't you come with us? There's a bar ahead, go have a warm drink." Cold Mirror shook his head and said, "No. Walk along the road, maybe you'll meet a kind-hearted driver." He had to refuse because he didn't have much money left on him, so he had better hurry to the city and find a way to survive. "Whatever you want." After seeing Cold Mirror's firm attitude, those people stopped persuading him and went their separate ways. Cold Mirror was alone. Although he was wearing some jackets and clothes, the cold and snowy weather made it difficult for him to resist. "Ha! I'm so cold." Cold Mirror walked cautiously as he observed, after all, he didn't know where he had come from. If there were any wild beasts in this wilderness, it would be amazing. So, in order to keep his body warm, he spared no expense in expending more energy in accelerating his pace, making his entire body's blood flow lively. He recognized the direction of the city lights and quickly moved forward. After walking for less than an hour, his legs were already sore and his stomach was thirsty. Damn it! What exactly is this place? Cold Mirror rested against a tree for a while and couldn't help but complain, "God, open his eyes, let me meet a living person." He completely forgot that over an hour ago, it was he who had to separate himself from those living people. Boom! Suddenly, at this moment, a loud noise came from afar, as if the vehicle had been hit by something. Cold Mirror suddenly looked up and quickly moved his legs. running towards the place where the noise was coming from. "Oh my! Did you really open your eyes? Is the guy who was hit okay? Don't be killed by my crow mouth." In just a few minutes of the short journey, Leng Jing ran out of the dense forest and saw a small trailer on the road crash into a large tree lying horizontally on the roadside. The small trailer even ignited flames. "Help!" A girl on the passenger side of the trailer was struggling to tap the car window, as if she was stuck in her seat and couldn't break free, while the flames inside the car grew stronger and stronger. Cold Mirror frowned and saw two tall figures swaying in front of the vehicle, as if in battle. "If we don't save that girl now, she might be burned alive. Oh my! I've taken it." Leng Jing sighed and immediately strode up, forcefully pulling open the car door. The girl's seatbelt got stuck. "You calm down." Cold Mirror comforted the girl and quickly found a small short axe from the back seat, easily cutting through the seatbelt. The girl was extremely grateful and the two quickly jumped off the car. Wow! As a result, Cold Mirror had just jumped out of the car when a loud noise came from behind. He saw himself being shrouded in a shadow on the snow-white ground. Cold Mirror suddenly turned back, and suddenly a huge arm grabbed Cold Mirror's neck, lifting him up in an instant. At the same time, a tremendous force was transmitted, and Cold Mirror felt the pain in his neck as if it was about to be crushed at any time. The strong suffocation almost made Cold Mirror lose consciousness. Buzz! Suddenly, a scorching red ray shot in, and the tall black figure couldn't dodge and was directly knocked out by the ray. Cold Mirror escaped danger. The suffocation he had just experienced almost made him faint, and a fierce cough came from beside him. It was obvious that the girl had been caught by the dark shadow along with him. What exactly happened? Cold Mirror struggled to hold back the sharp pain on his body and stood up, then saw a scene that made his face change dramatically. A white-haired woman wearing a tight dark green leather jacket descended from the sky, her eyes filled with a cold white light. And in the distance, a man wearing an eye mask slowly walked over holding someone. Cold Mirror looked at this increasingly familiar scene and suddenly realized where he was. Men. Cold Mirror blurted out, "Storm Woman. Laser Eyes." Oh. The white-haired Storm Girl floated down beside Cold Mirror, picked up the girl, and looked at Cold Mirror with deep meaning. "Who are you? Can you accurately recognize us?" Cold Mirror continued to be surprised. Did he actually appear in the world of people? So the girl I just saved is just a little mischievous. Is the man being held by laser eyes now Wolverine? And the one who almost choked himself was the saber-toothed tiger. By the way, where's the saber-toothed tiger? Cold Mirror quickly turned around and found a figure falling from the sky. The powerful impact force directly knocked the laser eye and Wolverine away. Drink. Without hesitation, the Stormwind woman suddenly raised her hand and threw a lightning bolt towards the sword-toothed tiger. However, the sword-toothed tiger's movements were incredibly rapid. At the moment when Storm Woman launched her attack, he grabbed the bewildered Cold Mirror and lifted it up, blocking it horizontally in front of him. When Leng Jing looked at the lightning flash, he immediately came to his face, leaving only one thought in his mind. Am I going to smile when I pass through his mother? Chapter 2. Another Me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The scorching white light instantly blinded Cold Mirror. Almost at the same time, the terrifying heat and numbness spread throughout Cold Mirror's body. He had such a strong feeling before being hit, and it was hard to imagine how he could survive this blow. Ah! Cold Mirror closed his eyes and shouted loudly. He could already foresee the terrible pain he was about to suffer. However, a puzzled voice rang out. What are you calling a ghost? The sound made Cold Mirror, who had not yet felt the pain, immediately open his eyes. In a narrow passage, under dim light, stood a man with a cold face and a huge cigar in his mouth. The cold mirror could clearly see a huge golden hook on his left hand. Who are you? Where is this? Cold mirror touched his body. He remembered being lifted up by a saber-toothed tiger just now, and then a lightning bolt from Stormwind struck him. But now, in the blink of an eye, he had arrived at this unfamiliar place again. Shouldn't you give your name before asking someone else's name? The man with a cigar walked slowly and coldly, and now the cold mirror finally saw the person's appearance. The man was dressed exactly like Crocodile in the pirate world, but his appearance was similar to his own. Cold mirror blurted out. Crocodile. The person gently flicked the cigar in his mouth and said coldly, wrong, it's a cold mirror from Croc. How could it be? Cold mirror said in surprise. At the same time, some memory fragments quickly flooded into the noisy sea of cold mirror. He seemed to have become the master of that memory, witnessing his birth in the world of pirates, becoming the 7 martial seas under the king, playing with power and the country of sand. Is this Croc Cold Mirror also his own? Cold Mirror immediately realized that he had traveled through 2 worlds at the same time. Another clone pierced into the world of pirates and became one of the 7 martial seas under the king, a sand crocodile. The sand crocodile's cold mirror over there had flickering eyes, indicating that he had just merged memories with this cold mirror. They actually acquired each other's memories. And even abilities at the same time. Cold mirror felt the change in his body, and the sand crocodile's sand fruit ability was instantly shared with him. 2 clones from different dimensional worlds actually shared their memories and abilities at this moment. What's going on? As soon as Cold Mirror gained power, he immediately felt a change in his body. With the memory of a sand crocodile, he was able to proficiently operate the ability of sand fruits, making the miniature sand roll rotate in his palm. I actually gained your ability. The sand crocodile on the opposite side looked coldly at everything and sneered, I have also acquired your abilities. It seems that we are not in a relationship between primary and secondary beings, but rather clones of shared abilities, or we are all primary beings. Leng Jing also had the same idea. At first, he thought there was a hierarchy between the 2 people, but since everything was shared, it means that each clone is actually the master, which is why he can obtain the right to dominate all physical abilities. What is my ability? Leng Jing asked curiously, feeling his body tingling. The sand crocodile smiled coldly in the mirror and said, your ability is just that you have no ability. Ah! Leng Jing was shocked for a moment. He didn't understand why he had no ability when he was dressed in the world of X.Men. That's really disappointing. Cold Mirror said, but he was very optimistic. He looked left and right and asked, what is this place? I don't know. After the sand crocodile's Cold Mirror's eyes changed several times, he slowly put away the sparkling crystals in his hand, but unfortunately, this scene was not seen by the Cold Mirror. I was just struck by lightning and unexpectedly arrived at this place. Is everything before an illusion? Cold Mirror said, recalling how long she had walked in the ice and snow, not like a false illusion. This should be a special space, said the sand crocodile Cold Mirror. And I guess there are not only our 2 clones here, but also our other clones in other multiverse worlds. At this point, the Cold Mirror and the sand crocodile Cold Mirror have already walked out of the end of the passage, and the front is bright. Countless passageway exits have a staircase extending out, then converging towards the central huge altar, surrounded by a huge circular field. And above the altar, there is a huge statue. Ha! Leng Jing frowned as he looked at the statue. Judging by his appearance, he looks a bit like us, but he is surrounded by lightning all over his body, and his clothing cannot be seen. It is impossible to determine which world we belong to. After a moment of silence, Shah Crocodile's Cold Mirror said, perhaps if we meet here in a diverse world and share our abilities and memories with each other, our strength will rise to an unparalleled and terrifying level. Upon hearing this, Cold Mirror nodded. The statement made by Sand Crocodile Cold Mirror had just been confirmed, and they had already shared their abilities and memories. If we could gather more cold mirrors from the multiverse and obtain all the abilities and memory sharing, then the strength would be unimaginable. I think it's not wise for you to still be very calm here chatting with me now, the sand crocodile suddenly spoke up. How do you say it? Leng Jing asked in confusion. Sha Crocodile Cold Mirror said, we are conscious beings entering this special space, but our true selves are still preserved in the original world. I concentrate and can feel a slight change in the tactile sensation of my body in the original world. You just said you were struck by lightning, and now you may have been killed. Your conscious body is still chatting with me here, and I'm afraid when your consciousness retreats, the body that has not been carried will fly into ashes. I'll go. Upon hearing this, Cold Mirror's hair immediately became chilly. No wonder I've been feeling numb all along just now. It turns out that my body in that world was hit, and my consciousness still reacted. Why didn't you tell me earlier if you made this discovery? The sand crocodile sneered with a cold mirror and said, it seems that you have gained powerful strength while sacrificing a considerable amount of intelligence. Cold Mirror was about to say something when a powerful vortex dragged his consciousness into it, and Cold Mirror instantly disappeared from the special space. At this moment, the sand crocodile Cold Mirror slowly lifted its hand, and a crystal sandstorm on top began to rotate, invisibly controlling the energy of each grain of sand. In the field of force, this clone's ability is so strong. Unfortunately, its strength is too weak, it didn't show itself. Ah! With the power of the vortex spinning, Cold Mirror's consciousness finally returned to the original world. His body was just struck by a lightning bolt from Stormwind and exploded into countless gravel, but even so, he was still able to shout. And this strange cry made everyone present stop in terror. Chapter 3. Strong Performance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After obtaining the sand fruit ability of the sand crocodile Cold Mirror's body acquired the characteristics of natural elemental transformation. Although his consciousness was still in a special space, when his body in this world was attacked, it immediately turned into a wild mist and flying sand, completely breaking free from the hands of the saber-toothed tiger. Without the Cold Mirror as a shield, the saber-toothed tiger was directly struck by a lightning bolt from the Storm Woman. Roar! However, the saber-toothed tiger has rough skin and thick flesh, and its self-healing ability is amazing. The wound cut by lightning disappears in the blink of an eye. He was both shocked and angry. What surprised him was how the person in his hand had turned into sand and disappeared. What angered him was that Storm Girl had hurt him. Drink. Storm Girl saw Cold Mirror suddenly disappear, thinking that she had been struck by a lightning bolt and wiped out the smoke. Her heart was filled with suspicion, but her strength flickered in her hand. Two whirlwinds surged up in anger, transforming into two tornadoes and storming towards the sword-toothed tiger. Humph! The saber-toothed tiger roared with lightning speed. He climbed on the ground with his hands, feet, and all four limbs at an astonishing speed. Before Storm Woman could hit her attack, he twisted around the tornado and killed her. Buzz! However, a red laser beam suddenly emitted and knocked down the flying saber-toothed tiger in the air. The laser's gaze was solemn, and when he saw the ordinary person being struck and exploded, he also felt a bit anxious and worried. After all, killing others by mistake is a big taboo. Although the saber-toothed tiger fell behind in a 1.1 battle, he was not at all hesitant. The wounds on his body healed at a visible speed, and the attacks of Storm Woman and Laser Eye posed no threat to him. Hee. Are you tickling? The saber-toothed tiger sneered, and his 5 fingers gently spread out, with sharp nails protruding from his fingertips. Stormwind and Laser Eye both lowered their expressions. The defense of the sword-toothed tiger was not strong enough, and they could easily break through it. However, with such an incredible recovery ability, they were just stuck in battle. Without effective restraint, they would have wanted to retreat. At this moment, a shout rang out, causing a tense atmosphere, with a hint of panic and shock, as well as a hint of anger. What's going on? Stormwind looked at the flying sand on the ground in surprise, and then a gust of dust quickly rose up and rolled towards the sword-toothed tiger. Roar! The saber-toothed tiger didn't know why, so he quickly flew towards one side and dodged away. Shwa! However, the sandstorm only touched his arm, and the saber-toothed tiger's arm immediately withered and withered. This is exactly the ability of sand fruit to absorb water in contact with the target. Although Cold Mirror had just acquired the sand fruit ability of Sand Crocodile Cold Mirror, due to memory sharing, Cold Mirror quickly adapted to the use of sand fruit and dealt a heavy blow to the sword-toothed tiger upon arrival. Ah! The saber-toothed tiger screamed in pain, and this eerie scene really frightened him. Why could a piece of flying sand launch an attack on him as if consciously? And being able to suck his arms dry directly, this scene is too terrifying. The saber-toothed tiger screamed and dodged, and the storm girl beside her eyes lit up with white light. She immediately clasped her hands together, and a flash of lightning hit the saber-toothed tiger at the sound. The fierce electric light hit him directly into the ground. At this moment, Cold Mirror gradually gathered the flying sand and controlled the surrounding gravel to aggregate, forming his true body. This strange scene made Storm Girl and Laser Eye very wary, forgetting to chase the sword-toothed tiger for a moment. Wow! So elemental transformation feels like this. Cold Mirror carefully felt the changes in his body, the neural sensing that could communicate with surrounding elements and the transformation of body cells, making him instantly adapt from a mortal to a fruit-capable person. Are you actually a mutant? Storm Girl looked at Cold Mirror in surprise and said in confusion, but why didn't the professor notice your existence? Did your X cells just activate? Lousy, this is a sha-sha fruit. Cold Mirror thought to himself, but smiled and said, this matter is so complicated. Leng Jing doesn't want to reveal his trump card, and the mutant school has strong strength. Now that he has nothing to do, it's not bad to pretend to be a mutant and go ahead and get through the difficult period in front of him. Roar! However, while Cold Mirror was chatting with Stormwind, a deafening roar suddenly came from the snow. Suddenly, a black figure rushed out of the snow, and the saber-toothed tiger's face was full of anger as it rushed out. The wounds on his body that had been hit by Stormwind and Laser Eye healed again. Click! The saber-toothed tiger roared and quickly flipped over and pounced, knocking down the Cold Mirror, causing it to pinch his neck and lift him up again. Cold Mirror remained incredibly calm this time. He looked at the saber-toothed tiger coldly and sneered, this is the third time you've pinched my neck. It's not a big deal, I need to teach you a lesson. Cold Mirror was surprised to find that the arm of the saber-toothed tiger that had just been sucked dry by him had actually returned to its original state, and the self-healing mutant had strong recovery ability. Fart it! The saber-toothed tiger roared angrily, and a huge force erupted from its arm, about to strangle Leng Jing's neck. Dare you! The laser eye instantly adjusted the intensity level of the lightning eye. He knew that ordinary people couldn't resist the attack of the saber-toothed tiger, so he directly blasted out the powerful laser light. Puff! However, the sword-toothed tiger seemed determined to kill Cold Mirror. He blocked the laser light from his laser eye with one hand, even though his arm was instantly burned and melted by the radiation. Despite this powerful pain, he bravely smiled at Cold Mirror and then used his fingers to launch an attack on his neck. Puff! Another sound of blood shooting came, accompanied by the sound of bone and blood shattering. Amidst the astonished gazes of the crowd, they saw the saber-toothed tiger grabbing Leng Jing's arm and being directly cut off by a sandstorm flying blade. Before the saber-toothed tiger could break Leng Jing's neck, it was actually cut off by Leng Jing's ability to use the sandstorm fruit first with a sandstorm flying blade. Ah! The saber-toothed tiger finally screamed in agony this time. His left hand was blocking the laser light, and his right hand was cut off by a Cold Mirror strike. It's extremely painful for him to lose both hands at the same time. Do you really think that you can hit me with brute force? Leng Jing looked at the retreating saber-toothed tiger and smiled slightly. For me, a crazy warrior can't even scratch the itch. Stormwind and Laser Eye looked at the powerful, new mutant, in astonishment. Just now, Sword-Toothed Tiger was mocking them for tickling, but now in the blink of an eye, they were under the Cold Mirror. Cold Mirror mocked him and went back. Isn't that too strong? Storm Girl saw that Cold Mirror had a considerable deterrent power against self-healing mutants and asked in surprise, "Who are you?" Chapter 4 Mutant School. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Leng Jing recalled 2 hours ago when he was walking on foot in the wilderness and almost froze to death in this icy and snowy land. He didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, he had such a chance due to a strange encounter. Now that he has shared his memories and abilities with his clone in the world of pirates, Cold Mirror's temperament and vision have changed. Even when facing the two X-Men, Storm Woman and Laser Eye, who have been famous for a long time, his current demeanor are impressive. Cold Mirror. Stormwind nodded and said, "Since you have awakened your mutant ability now, we have just received the person we are looking for and are preparing to return to the mutant school. Do you want to come with us?" Leng Jing turned his head in confusion and saw the saber-toothed tiger struggling to get up from the snow. His shattered arms had actually recovered, and this self-healing speed made Leng Jing marvel at it. That mutant is going to run, won't he? Stormwind glanced at the saber-toothed tiger that had already run into the forest, revealing a playful smile and said, "No need to chase after him. Although we don't know why he attacked these two mutants, since we are here, the professor's consciousness must have also locked on the saber-toothed tiger. No matter what conspiracy he has, he cannot escape the professor's spiritual perception. Now let him go, find their lair, and we will catch them all in one go." Leng Jing nodded, but he had already fully understood the actions of the saber-toothed tiger. The person in the scene, Magneto Wong, is studying a gene mutation enhancer and is planning to make a big deal. However, the current situation has nothing to do with him. Cold Mirror is just looking for a temporary place to live. Okay. Since you don't care about him escaping, then I don't care anymore. Cold Mirror smiled at Storm Girl and said, "When are we leaving for the mutant school?" Storm Woman turned her head and glanced at Laser Eye, who smiled slightly. She lifted her arm and lightly tapped a few button commands on the controller on her arm. Suddenly, there was a loud wind above her head. Cold Mirror looked up and found nothing on his head. However, he knew that this was an X-Men aircraft using stealth function, so it was impossible to see it solely by sight. "Let's go." After the Laser Eye brought the fainting little rascal and Wolverine onto the plane, Storm Woman controlled the fighter jet and transformed into an arc of impact in the night sky, quickly disappearing into the sky. The cold mirror that followed the plane was truly eye-opening. He had never had much exposure to high-tech before, but now that he had personally experienced X-Men's planes, he was very impressed and even calculated in his mind that it would take a few seconds to be thrown off at his own speed. Half an hour later, the plane crossed several cities and returned to Charles Xavier Castle, the address of the mutant school. After Cold Mirror got off the plane, there was already a hot red sexy beauty standing by the apron with a smile, waiting for them. Cheen. Storm Girl walked down and warmly greeted the red-haired beauty, pointing to Cold Mirror and saying, "Sandman, Cold Mirror. Hey. Don't give me any nicknames. What kind of Sandman kills people? Why don't you call me the Sand God?" Cold Mirror was very unhappy when she heard the title of Storm Girl. It wasn't long before she was given a nickname. If you're going to wander in the martial arts world in the future, your nickname won't sound good. You have to cover your face when going out. Cheen. Laser Eye also walked down and commanded the waiting rescue team to board the machine to move Wolverine and Little Naughty. "Those two above are not awake, please." The sexy red-haired beauty revealed a charming smile and said, "No problem. Cold Mirror suddenly realized that this red-haired beauty should be Gretchen, the famous Phoenix fragment carrier, with one of the 3 powerful Phoenix powers. It is easy to gently restart the universe in order. Leng Jing felt for a moment that her decision to come to the mutant school was a bit hasty. If this Phoenix host goes berserk and she is under the same roof as her, she is very likely to suffer an unfounded disaster. In a moment, thousands of thoughts flashed through Cold Mirror. Suddenly, he saw the red-haired beauty looking at him with a puzzled gaze. He hesitated and asked, "What's going on?" Gretchen said without hesitation, "I am a telepathic, but strangely, I cannot read your thoughts and mental body." Leng Jing was very surprised. He knew that the ability of a telepathic person to peek at the consciousness of others was a very eye-catching manifestation. Normally, unless there was a shielding helmet like Magneto, it could block the telepathic person's mental control. Why could he resist it himself? "Why can't I read it?" Leng Jing asked in confusion. "I don't know," Gretchen frowned and murmured, "it's clear that there's no defensive will to resist, but it's like a powerful force field that completely interferes with and blocks my perception." Force field. Cold Mirror suddenly felt a sudden surge in his heart. He knew that Sha Shagua had many abilities, but it was absolutely impossible for him to have abstract abilities like force field. Cold Mirror pondered for a moment, and a hint of anger and helplessness appeared at the corner of his mouth. This damn sand crocodile clone, he even deceived himself. He already knew the hidden abilities in me, but he pretended not to know. It's really frustrating. Cold Mirror can guess to some extent that this force field should be one's own hidden ability. As for why it was not discovered or unable to be excited, the only reasonable speculation that Cold Mirror currently thinks is that it is too weak to activate this force field. I don't know what this ability is for. Cold Mirror fell into contemplation. It's really interesting. Gretchen smiled at the contemplative Cold Mirror and said, "Follow the storm and take a good stroll. When we have time later, let's study this problem in more detail." Good guy. If it weren't for Cold Mirror knowing that Gretchen and Laser Eye were in a romantic relationship, he would have almost suspected that he had been seduced with that seductive smile just now. Indeed, hot beauties cannot easily engage in depth communication, which can lead to misunderstandings. Let's go. After seeing the conversation between Gretchen and Ling Jing, Storm Girl knew that Ling Jing must still have many secrets, so she took the initiative to say, "Now I'll take you to see the famous Professor X. If you have any doubts about your life, I promise to gain something from him." Cold Mirror's heart twitched, and a hint of a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "All right. I happen to want to ask him for some information." The two of them immediately walked towards the depths of the castle, one in front and one behind, while the Laser Eye went straight to park the plane. At this moment, at a distant corner, under the tall tree shadow, a figure with golden eyes slowly disappeared into the darkness. A cold smile appeared at the corner of her mouth, her gaze wandering back and forth between the little mischievous being transported away and the Cold Mirror accompanying the storm, as if considering which one to pursue. Chapter 5. Leading One Step. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Mutant School covers a huge area, and it is also a private property taken out by Professor X for construction. Cold Mirror personally experiences the famous mutant Holy Land in the Marvel world, and cannot help but feel that Professor X is truly one of the super-rich. The professor originally sent us out to perceive Magneto's intention to have an affair with Wolverine, but we didn't expect to encounter you halfway through. Stormwind and Laser Eye said as they walked, "I'm sure the professor would welcome you very much, a passionate and righteous mutant like you." Leng Jing followed behind the two without hesitation. As he walked along the way, he found that the facilities and equipment of this school were quite advanced, with a strong sense of technology, coupled with various powerful mutants. It can only be said that Professor X is still committed to peace construction. If he wants to dominate the world, he is afraid that this will be a very terrifying force. He sent you to pick up Wolverine, but now that the person has picked it up, shouldn't we go see Wolverine first? Leng Jing asked, now that I'm going with you to find Professor X, wouldn't it be in vain? Stormwind smiled slightly and said, Wolverine and the girl are still unconscious, and Qin is treating them. The professor may not immediately go to see them. On the contrary, the conspiracy of the escaped Swordtooth Tiger and Magneto is urgent at the moment. Perhaps meeting you is the professor's first idea. Cold Mirror chuckled and said, what if you guess wrong? Storm Girl was about to say something when her eyes suddenly flickered slightly. Then she smiled and pointed to her head, saying, the professor just told me, I guessed it right. Telepathy. Even at a distance, a telepathic person can connect to another person's thinking and will, either communicating with them or directly controlling their will to take over their body. Cold Mirror is very wary of this ability and has no secrets in front of telepathic beings. Fortunately, Gretchen just revealed a very useful information to him, which was that there seemed to be a powerful field on Cold Mirror's body that could resist the gaze of spiritual perception. Here we go. After passing through a series of long corridor corners, Storm Girl said to Cold Mirror, Professor is waiting for you inside. You can go in. Cold Mirror hesitated for a moment and said, aren't you following in? Seeing the laser-eyed gatekeeper stop holding his hand and stand expressionless at the door, the Cold Mirror became puzzled. I still have to go teach the students. Storm Girl smiled and said, if you have anything to do, just find Scott. As the captain and deputy of X.Men, Laser Eye mostly serves as Professor X's bodyguard, while Storm Girl is the teacher of mutant children. Hey. All right. Cold Mirror pushed open the door and walked in. Unexpectedly, behind the door was another huge room filled with books. On the edge of a huge desk, a bald old man who looked incredibly wise, elegant and gentle smiled at Ling Jing and said, hello. Ling Jing. I am Professor X, Charles Xavier. Hello. Cold Mirror said expressionlessly. Professor X had already learned Cold Mirror's name from Storm Girl through telepathy, so he didn't even need to report his own name. What a unique mutant. Professor X looked at the Cold Mirror with a satisfied smile. And without awakening his ability, he has a very strong sense of justice. This world needs more people like you. Ling Jing was about to refute something, but he remembered that Professor X could sit here, sense the thoughts of others thousands of miles away, and manipulate their will. Therefore, his act of rescuing the little rascal last night must have been seen by Professor X in the consciousness of Storm Girl. Cold Mirror shrugged and said, mutants like Magneto can't really help stabilize order. Magneto always wants to bring down ordinary humans and make mutants a superior race, but his ideals are vastly different from those of Professor X, who advocates for equality and mutual assistance. Do you even know the Magneto King? Professor X was somewhat surprised. Is there anything strange about this? Said Ling Jing calmly, the mutants all over the world know about Magneto's twisted ideals. The Sword-Toothed Tiger is his capable commander, and catching the little rascal cannot be his personal behavior. It must be Magneto's need for the little rascal before sending him out. What? Professor X showed a surprised expression. Are you saying that Eric, Magneto's target is mischievous, not Wolverine? Ling Jing nodded and said, of course, what's the use of an indestructible mutant? Can it be used as a sandbag to practice martial arts? It must be a little mischievous person who can absorb other people's mutant abilities and has practical value. Professor X's face darkened and he said, yes. Your speculation is very reasonable. I mistakenly thought that Eric, Magneto King, wanted to catch Wolverine. Speculation. Lousy is one step ahead in the entire world. Cold Mirror's face showed an imperceptible smug expression. However, Professor X saw through the smile and said with a smile, it seems like you haven't had much reaction to this. I said that right. Cold Mirror said to Professor X, I don't believe you will let go of the saber-toothed tiger for no reason. You must be prepared to take action. You are really a meticulous person. Professor X smiled and said, "Come with me. After this matter is over, consider carefully whether to join the X.Men." Leng Jing was a bit surprised. He didn't expect this bald person to easily accept him. However, he didn't agree. He came to the mutant school to have a temporary foothold in this new world, rather than just handing his old life over to others and taking it out at any time. The two of them immediately left the study, and Scott outside the door was still guarding there. The three of them went deep into the underground base together. Professor X's most powerful secret weapon, the brainwave enhancer, is located at the end of the base channel. There was a retinal inspection on the door, which quickly identified Professor X's identity. They slowly opened it before they even approached. "Come on in." Cold mirror. Professor X controlled the wheelchair and entered the control room of the brainwave intensifier. The laser eye remained motionless outside the door, acting as the gatekeeper. After Leng Jing slowly walked into the room, the door immediately closed. In this arc-shaped room, at the end of the narrow passage, there was a cold machine placed there, and Professor X moved over with a smile on his face. Cold Mirror's gaze became solemn. This brainwave intensifier is well known, and as long as Professor X, a powerful telepathic agent, controls this machine, the life and death of people around the world will be in Professor X's mind. If he is not a promiscuous person, it is difficult to imagine that this is not a very terrifying thing. During his contemplation in the cold mirror, Professor X put on an intensifier and in an instant, a red and white light and shadow appeared in the room. The virtual projection immediately simulated all beings with life thinking in the world. Chapter 6. The task was too hasty. You are listening at novel full.audio. After seeing Professor X wearing the intensifier, Cold Mirror became a bit wary. I wonder if Professor X, who has increased his telepathy by countless times, can break through his own force field defense. You see, this is the carrier image of all life thinking in the world. The professor pointed to those red and white virtual projections and said, "Every red thinking is a mutant, and every white thinking is an ordinary person. Here, I can instantly connect the thinking of everyone in the world. Except for Eric, Magneto, he has a mind-blocking helmet, so I have never been able to see through his plan." Cold Mirror looked at the shocking scene in the room where signs of global life distribution were scattered, and intentionally or unintentionally asked his doubts. "Professor, your ability is so powerful. If you are used by bad people, perhaps it will be a disaster for everyone." As a result, Professor X seemed to take it for granted and had no reaction to Cold Mirror's words. The brainwave booster was built to save the world, but every weapon has both sides, and the sword that guards the world may also be used to destroy it in reverse. So I often remind my students that if one day I am forced into such a situation, they must kill me to prevent tragedy from happening. You too, Cold Mirror, if that situation really happens, kill me, save the world. What the hell? Cold Mirror was shocked. I didn't expect Professor X to maintain such an open attitude towards this matter. And you still believe in yourself so much. Found it. Professor X suddenly spoke up, and the virtual projection in front of him quickly changed. The Earth's form scene quickly zoomed in and out, and then entered a train station somewhere. In a corner, two red mutant images appeared, one of which was a saber-toothed tiger. X.Men, get ready to move. Professor X's face showed a positive expression. I can't perceive Eric's thoughts in his heart, but if we catch these two people, maybe we have a clue. Since you want to catch it, then you let the saber-toothed tiger run away in the snow. Leng Jing was shocked by Professor X's operation. Previously, I let him go because I wanted to track him down and find their lair. But now it seems that Eric is very cautious and did not recall him. He was sent out directly. It seems that the plan to track him is not feasible. Professor X said, so now we need to change the plan and capture their important members directly. Cold Mirror is speechless now. They walked out of the brainwave intensifier room, and upon receiving instructions from Professor X, the laser eye immediately set off to organize Storm Woman and others to take action and go to the train station to capture the saber-toothed tiger. But Cold Mirror fell into contemplation. In his memory, it was the demonic woman who infiltrated the mutant school and fooled the little mischievous away, before Magneto and others blocked the train station. But now that Magneto has gone to the train station to wait, doesn't it mean that the demon woman has already infiltrated the mutant school? Sleeping trough. This task is too hasty. Professor X deserves his title of high intelligence. I didn't understand the situation at all, so I sent someone directly to carry out the task. Leng Jing didn't know that he was able to see the whole picture from a third perspective. In fact, Professor X and Magneto have been playing games for many years, and their methods are both very secretive and powerful. It's not so easy to see. Perhaps the mischievous little rascal is the key figure, Leng Jing had to remind Professor X, because if Magneto's target is hers and you keep an eye on the mischievous little rascal, then Magneto's tricks outside will be useless. Professor X glanced at the cold mirror and smiled happily. Your thinking is very sharp and insightful. You really need to consider joining the X.Men. With someone like you, maintaining order will definitely be easier. Let's talk about this later. Leng Jing refused Professor X's deception. Katie, come and take the cold mirror to the reception area to find the guest who was just delivered today. Professor X had a thought and immediately conveyed a message to someone on campus. Not long after, a girl with an incredibly cute face and a petite figure walked over. Looking at her youthful and delicate appearance like a lowly, as well as her curvy figure, Leng Jing couldn't help but take a second glance. Professor. The girl walked with cheerful steps and greeted Leng Jing with a smile. Hi. Phantom Cat. Cold Mirror couldn't help but take a few more glances at the girl with a very awkward appearance and figure. Hee, do I have such a cute nickname? The girl smiled and said. Katie has already been selected by me as a reserve member of the X.Men. Professor X said, now it's time for some simple tasks. Take Mr. Leng Jing to the reception area to protect the guests who just arrived today and be wary of anyone sneaking into the school to cause trouble. Understood. The Phantom Cat walked briskly and playfully said to Cold Mirror, come on. Mr. Cold Mirror. By the way, according to Storm, you seem to be called Sandman. Leng Jing gritted his teeth in hatred and said, what can't be killed? My name is Leng Jing. Just call me Leng Jing. Hee. Mr. Cold Mirror, please calm down. The Phantom Cat smiled happily in front of him, come with me. Cold Mirror just took a few steps out and immediately remembered something. He turned to Professor X and said, I suggest you don't keep using that machine. Even if you want to use it, you should check it every time before using it. Professor X thought Cold Mirror was caring for him, so he nodded and smiled, okay. As we agreed, if there's anything, then it's up to you. Promise your sister not to talk to herself. Cold Mirror almost rolled his eyes. Cold Mirror followed the Phantom Cat Katie 7 or 8 twists and turns, returning from below the base to the school on the ground. This Phantom Cat exudes the aura of a youthful girl from top to bottom, full of the allure of hormones, and its beauty is very ambiguous. What are you looking at? The Phantom Cat suddenly turned around and saw Cold Mirror staring at him, smiling and asking. Beautiful girls are very common, but girls who are beautiful, lively, cute, petite, and have an outgoing personality. Those who occupy all the advantages are very rare, said Leng Jing. Hee. This girl-picking routine is too cliché. Phantom Cat chuckled as she transformed into nothingness and directly penetrated a door. This is her mutant ability, which can shuttle into any place at will, no matter how strong the door is. Cold Mirror turned the door handle and walked in, following the footsteps of the Phantom Cat. To be honest. Between their laughter and conversation, the two of them had already reached the southwest position of the castle, where a 6-story building with dozens of rooms on the southeast side was used to receive guests. "Hi. Katie." At this moment, a boy with a hedgehog head walked coldly around the corner and greeted the phantom cat coldly, without even looking at the cold mirror. "Hi. John. Why did you have a black face today? Did Bobby make you angry again?" The phantom cat smiled happily, but the hedgehog boy didn't say a word and left directly. Chapter 7. True and False Firemen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cold Mirror recognized at a glance that the dragging young man was the more radical mutant John, who had a rebellious personality and would eventually leave the mutant school to join the Brotherhood of Magneto. The Cold Mirror following behind the phantom cat Katie turned back curiously, wanting to see the appearance of the fiery figure, but unfortunately, the boy disappeared in the blink of an eye. John. As Ling Jing was still thinking back, the surprised voice of the phantom cat rang in his ear. "How could you run so fast? You actually went around to the front again." Upon hearing these words, Ling Jing turned around in confusion. He saw the young man who had walked past a minute or two ago, actually walking back from the corner staircase at this moment. The difference is that the young man with a bright smile on his face walked over with another young man talking and laughing. Cold Mirror felt a thumping sensation in his heart, and an ominous premonition surged in his heart. "Katie." Fireman John smiled at the phantom cat in confusion. "Good morning. What are you doing here? Isn't there an exam to take later?" The stark contrast between the two of these fiery people, John, immediately made Ling Jing's face change dramatically. "Not good. What's wrong?" Fireman John looked at the Cold Mirror in shock and said, "Who are you? Why are you following Katie here?" Cold Mirror, however, did not answer the words of Fireman John. Instead, he looked at the four-eyed boy next to Fireman John with a gloomy gaze and asked, "You guys were together just now?" Xianzi glanced at Fireman John and nodded, saying, "Yes. We have an exam this morning, and I specifically went to invite him over." Magic-shaped woman. Cold Mirror's heart sank immediately. The John who just passed by must have been transformed by magic-shaped woman. Cold Mirror turned around and rushed towards the direction he had just gone. If he could catch the demon-shaped woman at this moment, it was highly likely to avoid the following series of things, and he could also use this to stand firm in the mutant school. "Hey! Wait for me." Katie quickly caught up behind the Cold Mirror, and the four-eyed child didn't know, so she followed suit. "Hello. Where are you all going? We'll have an exam later. Don't run around." John stood in place with a puzzled expression and shouted. Cold Mirror ignored John's words and rushed down the stairs at an extremely fast speed. In just a few seconds, he flew from the 5th floor to the 1st floor. The elemental movement of Sha fruit was indeed much more convenient. Oh my! The phantom cats I couldn't catch up with the Cold Mirror, so it grabbed the four-eyed kid following behind and activated their void transformation ability. The two of them instantly penetrated the floor, and no physical object could stop the phantom cat's void transformation penetration ability. They fell directly to the ground in 1 second. The mutated ability of the phantom cat is quite impressive. Just as Cold Mirror condensed its true form, the phantom cat had already grabbed its four-eyed cubs and floated up from the ground. "What are you running for?" the phantom cat asked in confusion. "The John we just met is fake." Cold Mirror looked around thoughtfully, but the hallway was full of students everywhere. Where could he see the figure of the fake John? It must be a demon-shaped woman from Magneto's subordinates who sneaked in. I don't know what kind of bad thing to do. Magneto's subordinates. The phantom cat clearly knew the old rival of the X-Men very well. She immediately looked at the four-eyed boy beside her and said, "Can you find John?" Four-eyed boy looked puzzled and said, "Isn't John upstairs? He just told us not to leave and go for the exam." Another John urged the phantom cat, "Hurry up. There's another John in school, that John is fake. Okay. Okay. The four-eyed cat clearly didn't know what had happened, but since the phantom cat asked him to work, his eyes immediately turned white and he began to activate his abilities. Besides John upstairs, can we find another John? Cold Mirror looked at the four-eyed child in shock and said, is this a telepathic person again? He. No. The phantom cat chuckled and said, his ability is to resonate with electromagnetic channels. Now he can watch TV, turn on and off household appliances, check monitoring equipment, and more. Cold Mirror frowned, is this not a proper high-level hacker variant ability? Directly resonating with electromagnetic channels, then invading various household appliances, and even peeking at other people's computers from afar to see some shy little movies. Cough cough cough. Cold Mirror closed the mind, this ability is not bad, I don't know if stronger development will make it even more incredible. Found it. Four-eyed boy's eyes returned to normal at this moment. A minute ago, he walked towards the playground, and Bobby was also there. Let's go. Upon hearing this, Leng Jing immediately took a step and ran out. Without delay, if the demonic woman appeared, we must seize the opportunity to catch her. Otherwise, with her abilities, we don't know how much trouble she could cause. The three of them immediately rushed out of the corridor, crossed the long forest passage, and crossed a wide sports field. Cold Mirror really hates these damn wealthy people. They have been running for so long in such a big place, but at their own speed, they have not yet reached their destination. At this moment, on the playground, Fireman John was arguing with a young man with a dark face. John. Cold Mirror rushed forward with great strides. The phantom cat was afraid that he would be accidentally injured by Cold Mirror and quickly spoke up, you raise your hands and don't move. The two teenagers who were arguing were taken aback, and when they turned around, they saw someone charging forward with a fierce momentum, which startled them. Buzz. Another blonde boy waved his hands and suddenly a cold airflow swept out. In an instant, the white frost and mist immediately froze the area where the mist had passed. Iceman. Cold Mirror felt the strong chill rolling in and immediately knew that the young man was indeed an Iceman. His body elements instantly dissipated, and the air flow that could freeze everything rushed into the air. Cold Mirror's sand fruit ability was instantly out of the Iceman's attack range. Damn it. John the Fireman quickly pulled out a lighter and lightly tapped his finger, igniting a flame in his hand. What is this thing? You all stay still. At this moment, the phantom cat and the four-eyed boy finally arrived. The four-eyed boy was afraid that these powerful mutants would fight and suffer for themselves. He quickly spoke up to stop the battle and said, we are capturing a fake John. It's best not to resist now. If the phantom cat and the four-eyed boy were hesitant about Cold Mirror just now, they have traveled through most of the campuses in such a short period of time and met another Fireman John. They have already believed what Cold Mirror said about true and false John. What? The Iceman looked at John with a puzzled expression and took 2 steps back. Is John fake? Are you also a stupid pig? John the Fireman was furious. Me. Can't you recognize me? At this moment, the Cold Mirror face that revealed its true form became extremely serious. Can you use the fire-type variant ability? John the Fireman turned his head to look at the Cold Mirror and angrily said, so what? Chapter 8. The test comes too quickly. You are listening at novelfull.audio. If you can use the fire mutation ability, it means you are real. Cold Mirror showed an uneasy expression and turned to look at the house of another Fireman John he had just met. I was already real. John the Fireman was angry. You said you're true, so let's first ask a few questions to verify. The phantom cat knew about this and couldn't be careless, but was afraid they would start fighting. She quickly came up and interjected, why was your face so bad when you met me just now? You ignored me even when I said hello to you. First of all, I said hello first. John the fireman glared at him angrily and said, secondly, today he agreed to come and invite me to the exam, but I waited for him for 30 minutes without seeing anyone. Can you say I can be angry? The Phantom Cat first glanced at the cold mirror, then looked at the Iceman Bobby, and then nodded at the same time, saying, this temper is indeed John's personality. I overslept, didn't I? Cianzi scratched his head awkwardly and said, and I also went to find you later. Here's a question. Leng Jing said, if this fireman is real, then the second fireman we encounter should be the demon woman. Why did she know that you were taking the exam today? The exam dates and content may not be the same for different subjects, right? The Phantom Cat and the Four-Eyed Boy pondered for a moment. They had indeed been called by the second fireman John to take the exam just now. If the second one was the fireman John transformed from the magical woman, then it is reasonable to say that the magical woman should not have known that the fireman John was going to take the exam today. This time, Leng Jing realized that he had made a hasty decision just now, and now he seems to be speaking up. With one's own intelligence and personality, anyone who is a little calm would not have caused such an upset. You can't be so careless anymore. Be cautious when doing things. Cold Mirror quickly took a deep breath, her mind spinning rapidly. The demon-shaped woman is a mutant with extremely strong reconnaissance and anti-reconnaissance abilities. In addition, her intelligence is quite high, and her espionage skills are extremely strong. She has already been deceived once, and she must not be fooled again. Think back. Leng Jing pointed at Cianzi and asked, when you met him, did you mention the exam first, or did he mention the exam first? Cianzi showed a thoughtful expression and after a moment, he said in shock, I remember. I met him halfway and told him to prepare for the exam quickly. Everyone around now showed a helpless expression. If it were you, then the demonic woman would make sense if she knew you were going to take the exam. Leng Jing sighed and said, I didn't expect this demonic woman to be so cunning. She used so many details and acted so well that she fooled us all at once. No wonder that fireman didn't come with us in the end. He pretended to shout a few words about the exam, which immediately dispelled all our doubts. TSK. It's really scary to be a spy like this. What should we do now? Asked Cianzi. What should we do? The situation has escalated to a struggle between the Brotherhood and the X.Men as members of the Brotherhood invade the mutant school. But I am an outsider. Cold Mirror didn't expect the test to come so quickly. After hesitating for a moment, he made a choice. Four-Eyed, you go inform the professor first. Can't you resonate with the electromagnetic channel? Give the professor a call, and the other few of you are more familiar with the fireman. Follow me to catch people, and encountering fake fireman is easy to spot flaws. Okay. The Phantom Cat and the Iceman nodded in agreement. Okay. I want to see who's impersonating me, said John the fireman in a fit of anger immediately. Cold Mirror quickly ran back towards the reception area with the Phantom Cat, Fireman, and Iceman, while Four Eyes went to report to Professor X. Damn it, don't you have any phone or other contact information? Cold Mirror said helplessly as he ran. Generally speaking, it's not useful in school, said the Phantom Cat. There are 2 telepathic agents, Professor and Cheen, and communication is completely useless, the Iceman added. It's naturally convenient for them to contact you. How about you contact them now? Leng Jing was speechless. Let's go back and strengthen our communication skills. 3 people followed behind with drooping faces. After all, who would have known that the mutant school would still be invaded one day? When they ran wildly and finally rushed to the 5th floor of the reception area, they saw Qin Guanman walking out of the mischievous room. Wait a minute. Cold Mirror slammed on the brakes and aimed one hand at Gretchen, while the other hand was placed behind him, secretly activating the ability of Sha Sha Fruit. What are you doing inside? At this moment, the Phantom Cat, Iceman, and Fireman all arrived. They were intimidated by the posture of the cold mirror, and at the same time, they were all on guard. Together, they used their abilities to condense cold energy and ignite flames, all aimed at the Chin. "What are you doing?" Gretchen looked at the four of them showing hostility towards her and asked in confusion, "I just came over from over there. The other guest's situation is very stable, and I am checking this little girl." Cold Mirror whispered, "Is she usually responsible for medical work in school?" Even if Chin is a sexy beauty, Ling Jing cannot be taken lightly at this moment. After thinking for a moment, the Phantom Cat nodded and whispered, "Most of the time, it's like this. She has multiple doctoral degrees, high knowledge and medical skills, and also has telepathy. She's very skilled at saving people." Ling Jing frowned and looked at Chin, asking, "Is the little rascal in the room now? Is there anyone else?" Chin said in confusion, "She's unconscious yet to wake up. Storm just reminded me not to disturb her, so she's sleeping alone now." "Storm." Cold Mirror's heart twitched. "We rushed up all the way just now and didn't encounter any Storm woman. Moreover, little Naughty didn't suffer any harm last night and couldn't have fainted for so long. If you were Chin, you'd better check now to see if she was drugged and unconscious." Upon hearing Cold Mirror's words, Gretchen felt uneasy and said, "What's going on?" Cold Mirror said to Iceman and Fireman, "You two quickly split into two paths to search for the Storm. Don't expose your tracks, and once you encounter it, test if it's her. Don't panic and wait for our support." Iceman and Fireman didn't have any good solutions for a while, they just listened to the command of Cold Mirror and acted quickly. At this moment, Ling Jing walked towards Gretchen with the Phantom Cat and said, "The demon woman is likely lurking and invading the school. Her target is the little rascal." "What?" Gretchen was taken aback and said, "The magical woman sneaked into the school." Chapter 9. Old and Spicy Methods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing the news, Gretchen showed a shocked expression on her face and rushed into the room as she opened the door. Cold Mirror didn't say anything, but turned around from the hallway with the Phantom Cat, crossed the door, and walked towards the room. Boom! However, as soon as Cold Mirror entered the room, there was suddenly a loud noise, and a huge black shadow roared and pressed directly against Cold Mirror. "Be careful!" The Phantom Cat screamed and immediately opened its hands to embrace the Cold Mirror. The two of their bodies immediately blurred, and the Phantom Cat activated its mutated ability. Faced with the sudden huge black shadow, the Phantom Cat hugged the Cold Mirror and penetrated directly from the floor, falling to the next floor. "I'll go." Cold Mirror let out a strange cry. He can be elemental and is not afraid of ordinary physical attacks. The attack just now didn't actually pose much threat to him. But Ling Buting was dragged away from the 5th floor by the Phantom Cat. The two of them immediately fell to the floor on the 4th floor with a thud, and the Phantom Cat was completely pressed against Cold Mirror. Although the beauty was holding warm and fragrant jade, Cold Mirror had no sense of joy. "Magneto!" Cold Mirror hugged the Phantom Cat and suddenly stood up, his gaze sharp. "Magneto!" The Phantom Cat blushed and quickly jumped off the Cold Mirror. "You said the one who ambushed us in the room just now was Magneto." Although Cold Mirror was dragged down the 4th floor by the Phantom Cat's activation ability, there was a moment just now when he saw a man wearing a helmet standing in the room. This kind of image, at this time, who else could be Magneto? Damn it! I fell for it. Cold Mirror immediately reacted, "Magneto is so despicable. He sent sword-toothed tigers and toads to the train station to deliberately show his whereabouts, but he brought the demon woman to the mutant school to steal people. How audacious he is." As Cold Mirror spoke, he had already turned into dust and rushed through the window, flying out directly from the 4th floor window, preparing to fly up to the 5th floor and break through the window. Shwa! However, there was a loud noise in the room where the mischievous little rascal was resting on the 5th floor. A huge door panel shattered the window, and Magneto, wearing a shielding helmet and a half-cloak, flew out with a smile as he stepped on the door panel. Gretchen was carrying the unconscious little rascal beside him. "Let go of her!" Cold Mirror roared, and the surrounding sand and dust rolled up in anger, forming a hurricane heading towards the Magneto King. This ability is a bit interesting. Magneto faced the Sha-Sha fruit attack of the Cold Mirror with a slight smile. With a gentle wave of his hands, countless metal fragments around him spun wildly, instantly resisting the sand roll of the Cold Mirror in the opposite direction. The two gusts of wind quickly burned due to the friction between the sand and iron objects, as if it were a burning tornado. The Cold Mirror failed to strike, but instead felt his body temperature rapidly rise, and many sand particles were crystallized by the high temperature, which was not a good thing for him. "Humph!" Cold Mirror scolded angrily, drawing out sand and dust from the air. His true body floated up in the void, as if rising against the wind, racing around the Magneto King. "Oh! You react so quickly." Magneto looked at the Cold Mirror with an appreciative look. "Your strength is not bad, but your combat experience is a bit lacking. It's a waste of talent to follow Charles. Do you want to join the Brotherhood and follow me?" Where did Cold Mirror pay attention to the solicitation of Magneto's love for money? He clasped his hands and fiercely slashed into the air, saying, "Desert Sword." A sharp and powerful airflow suddenly tore apart in the void, and the sand and dust airflow shook at high speed in the air, directly transforming into a sharp blade and cutting towards the Magneto King. "Oh! I can't stop this." Magneto finally changed his expression, but then he smiled again. "But he can." After speaking, Magneto waved his hand and suddenly a group of figures in the room below were dragged out with strange cries, smashing towards the sand and dust blades shot by Cold Mirror. Bang! I only heard a loud noise in the air, and Cold Mirror looked in shock as Magneto controlled a person to forcefully smash his own dust and wind blade. Ah! It hurt so much. The person who was hit screamed in agony, and the Cold Mirror fixed its gaze on the person who was hit by the sandstorm blade but not cut in half. It turned out to be Wolverine. "Your mother is so despicable." Cold Mirror was speechless. Originally, Magneto saw that he couldn't resist the attack of the Cold Mirror, so he felt Wolverine sleeping in a room in the reception area below and dragged him over as a shield to resist the attack. Wolverine is covered in Edelman metal all over, and with its extremely strong self-healing ability, it is simply the strongest defense shield in the world. Moreover, Magneto can manipulate magnetic fields, and the sky conquer Wolverine. Poor Wolverine was sleeping soundly and was directly dragged by Magneto to block human flesh shields. Drink. Cold Mirror didn't believe in evil, and when he opened it with one hand, 4 or 5 sand tornadoes attacked simultaneously. Magneto controls the magnetic field with both hands, treating Wolverine as a movable shield and moving one zhang away from him. All attacks of Cold Mirror are blocked by Wolverine's body. Leng Jing is really speechless now. With only the ability of Sha Shagua, he can't help but be the cunning Magneto King. Shake people. Cold Mirror immediately turned his head and shouted to the Phantom Cat below. Shake who? Magneto smiled smugly, all the X.Men have been called out long ago. Charles probably didn't use his brainwave booster, did he? If he did, I advise you to take him to the hospital now. This time, Leng Jing finally experienced the cunning methods of the Magneto King. Magneto King infiltrated the mutant school with the demon woman. First, he sent sword-toothed tigers and others to reveal their whereabouts on the surface, luring Professor X to send someone to attack. The demon woman then transformed and deceived all the X.Men. Then Magneto secretly tampered with the brainwave enhancer device, and finally, with this move, he managed to lure the tiger away from the mountain and sneak away, then swaggered to grab the person. Cold Mirror instantly understood everything. He thought he had read the script and understood everything, but these unexpected changes made him realize his carelessness towards the enemy and the only way to defeat. You can't leave. Cold Mirror's face darkened as he pondered over countermeasures. Suddenly, the phantom cat below screamed, while students from all directions fell to the ground in pain. What's going on? Cold Mirror's heart sank, but she immediately understood that it must have been the Iceman and the Fireman who ran to Professor X's side to report the news. Professor X then used his brainwave enhancer to search for the demon woman, but as soon as he used the machine, he was immediately backfired by the machine. Oh! Can you resist brainwave control? Magneto stepped on the door panel and flew higher and higher, showing a proud smile. But unfortunately, it's still a bit tender. The Cold Mirror who flew down and helped up the Phantom Cat knew that if he didn't have a helper now, he wouldn't be able to do anything about Magneto in the short term. And now the entire mutant school is filled with sorrows, making it difficult for me to leave. So he can only watch as the Magneto King flies away. Chapter 10. The Avengers. You are listening at novel full.audio. After the demonic woman infiltrated the mutant school, she first transformed into someone else and fooled Laser, Stormwind, Gretchen, and Ganglishi to leave the school. She also sneaked into the brainwave enhancement device inside the base while no one was around and made some moves. So the huge mutant school was actually tricked by Magneto, and he easily broke through the dungeon with the demon-shaped girl alone. Cold Mirror stood silently in front of the hospital bed, looking at Professor X who had passed out in a coma. Beside him was a dark-faced Wolverine, who still had a rebellious personality. Being played with like Magneto made him both ashamed and angry. On the other side, there are a group of students from Professor X, including Laser, Storm Woman, Steel Man, Fireman, Iceman, and Phantom Cat. Don't look so serious. Gretchen, who was treating Professor X, put down her therapeutic device and said to the crowd, Professor just fainted briefly due to the impact on his brain and nerves. He should rest for a few days. Your look on Professor X's face makes me very nervous. After hearing Gretchen's words, everyone's face finally softened slightly. However, Cold Mirror's words immediately made them serious again. The professor can sleep for a few days, but Magneto will not wait for us for so long. The professor is now injured and unconscious, and we have completely lost our understanding. Laser looked at Cold Mirror and said, even if we want to stop Magneto, we don't even know where he is or what he wants to do. Storm and others all nodded. In the past, there were professors who provided support, and with their intelligence and abilities, they could easily overcome any difficulty. Now the strongest brain is lying down, and they have suddenly lost their backbone, completely unaware of what to do. I know where Magneto is and what he wants to do, said Cold Mirror in a deep voice. The crowd looked over in surprise, and Gretchen said in confusion, You're the only one who has fought against Magneto this time. Do you see anything? Leng Jing said calmly, Magneto has created a gene mutation enhancer, which releases light that can mutate the genes of ordinary people and turn them into mutants. He has placed this machine on the Statue of Liberty and plans to activate it during the upcoming summit of the heads of state, so that they can radiate mutations and change the awkward position of mutants in the world. Is he so crazy? Wolverine was somewhat surprised. In recent years, Magneto has done a lot of crazy behaviors in order to make mutants rise, which is just the tip of the iceberg. Leng Jing said calmly, Magneto himself cannot withstand the energy of the machine, so he kidnapped a little mischievous person to start the machine on his behalf. However, Magneto doesn't know that ordinary people cannot withstand the powerful energy brought by genetic mutations in an instant, and it is easy to die as a result. If not stopped, it may cause significant casualties. What a deep old man. Wolverine said with a displeased expression, but this has nothing to do with me. I just want to stab him twice now. Recalling being controlled by Magneto to swing back and forth in the sky as a flesh shield, Wolverine felt extremely ashamed, angry, and resentful. It seems we're going to take the initiative. Laser Eye said solemnly, we need to stop him before he starts the machine. Stormwind, Gretchen, Steelers, and others all had a positive expression as X.Men prepared to launch an attack. Why are you all so excited? Laser Eye turned around and saw that Iceman, Fireman, and Phantom Cat were all eager to try. He quickly said, you stay at school honestly, and Cheen, you also stay. You have to take care of the professor and look at other students. As the captain of X.Men, Laser Eye has a high status and prestige. His words immediately made Iceman and Fireman who wanted to participate in the war feel disheartened. You two don't need to go either, Laser Eye said to Cold Mirror and Wolverine, this is a battle between X.Men and the Brotherhood. It's too dangerous for you to follow along. Cold Mirror remained silent and looked at Wolverine. Looking over, he sneered, if you don't let me go, then when you leave, I'll drive the car in the underground garage by myself. Laser Eye has lost his temper, and the coolest cars in the underground garage are all his. It seems that if you want to keep the car, you won't be able to keep Wolverine. Alright. You can come along, but follow the command. So everyone had already decided, and they all prepared to board the plane and depart. In the pitch-black night, there was a vibration on the playground of the mutant school, and the roar accompanied the floor moving towards both sides, revealing a huge hole below. A bright black fighter jet slowly rose up. Buzz! With a sharp roar piercing through the clouds, the black fighter jet transformed into a black light and rushed towards the sky, disappearing into the night. I feel like I'm flying much faster this time than last time. Cold Mirror looked at the seemingly restless Wolverine and caressed the inner wall of the plane. Last time it was a return trip, there's no need to rush. Now it's a rush to save people. It's not urgent, said Laser Eye. Ling Jing smiled slightly and said, but if you fly so fast, you must attract the attention of some forces, right? Ah. Laser stared for a moment and asked, some forces. Dee. As soon as I finished speaking, there was a strange noise coming from the fighter jet, and a mischievous voice from the communicator was heard. Hello. Mysterious plane, I suddenly noticed your high-profile appearance over the city. Please indicate your identity, otherwise I will use force to force you to stop. Storm Woman opened the walkie-talkie and asked in confusion, who are you? You can even detect our invisibility. The voice that wanted to be beaten said, your flight speed of a few Mach has twisted the air vortex. If we don't notice it anymore, the satellites of the Divine Shield Bureau will be stabbed down. Divine Shield Bureau. Cold Mirror finally knew who the voice was at this moment. The voice that deserves to be beaten must be Nick Fury. Aha! You're half right, young man. I'm Nick Fury, but I don't owe a beating, the voice said lazily. The Divine Shield Bureau. Laser Eye pondered for a moment, and immediately remembered all the information about the Divine Shield Bureau in his mind. He believed that the Bureau was an enemy rather than a friend at this time, so he spoke up and said, we are heading to the Statue of Liberty, and there is a machine on it that is about to start. Once it is activated, it will cause very serious consequences. I suggest that your satellite release its fire control and aim at us, and let's first deal with this disaster. Oh. Nick Fury laughed over the intercom and said, let's leave this matter to the Divine Shield Bureau. I've already sent 2 nearby Avengers over. I think you're too confident. Ling Jing sneered, you don't even know who your opponent is. You hastily sent the Avengers over, and just 2 people are not enough. Then tell me who the opponent is. Nick Fury's voice still owed him a beating. Magneto. This time, the voice of the walkie-talkie fell silent. 2 Avengers are not enough.